Welcome to David's Stories. Today we follow Lemuel Ellis, a 62-year-old healthcare mogul betrayed by his daughter and son-in-law who survives a deadly subway push, uncovers embezzlement, and exacts justice through legal mastery, reclaiming his empire in peace. Subscribe and hit the bell for weekly videos uncovering mysteries and truths. Share your thoughts below. Let's start the stories. I never imagined that the empire I'd built from the ashes of my youth, Ellis Healthcare Group, a network of clinics, spanning Manhattan's glittering skyline, would become the stage for my own undoing. My name is Lemuel Ellis, and at 62, I thought I had seen every twist of fate. But betrayal, it turns out, wears the face of family. It hides in whispers behind half-closed doors, in smiles that don't reach the eyes, and in the cold gleam of ambition that outshines blood ties. This is my story of survival, of unraveling secrets that could shatter a legacy, and of reclaiming power from those who sought to bury me with it. It began on a frigid January afternoon when the wind off the Hudson sliced through the city like a scalpel, and I returned to my office earlier than expected. The elevator hummed upward to the 12th floor of our headquarters on Fifth Avenue, a sleek tower of glass and steel that I'd purchased outright 15 years ago, back when Ellis Healthcare was just a dream, scribbled on napkins in a dingy Brooklyn apartment. I'd started with nothing, a kid from the projects, orphaned at 16, scraping through medical school on scholarships and sheer grit. By 30, I'd opened my first clinic, treating the underserved while bigger chains ignored them. Now at 62, it was a multi-million-dollar operation, 8 clinics, partnerships with major insurers, and a reputation for integrity that had earned me awards plastered across my office walls. But awards don't warm a bed or fill the empty chairs at holiday dinners. My wife Elaine had passed a decade ago from cancer, one of the ironies of running a healthcare empire. Our daughter Catherine was all I had left. She'd married Wesley Chambers 5 years back, a sharp-minded COO I'd handpicked and groomed myself. Or so I thought. The insurance meeting with Carmichael had wrapped up ahead of schedule. He'd signed the renewed contract without his usual nitpicking over clauses, citing mutual trust built over years. I stepped out of the elevator in a rare good mood, leather portfolio tucked under my arm, envisioning an early evening at the townhouse on the Upper East Side. My property, my deed where Catherine and Wesley lived, rent-free as a favor. Practical, I'd told myself. Family sticks together. Voices drifted from the half-open conference room door before I saw anyone. Low, urgent tones that prickled the hairs on my neck. I paused, instinct honed from decades of boardroom battles telling me to listen. How much longer do we wait? He's 62. This could drag on another decade. That was Wesley, his voice smooth as polished marble but edged with impatience I'd never noticed before. My portfolio suddenly felt heavier, like it carried the weight of unspoken accusations. "He built this place," Catherine replied, her clipped tone inherited from her mother. "You know he'll never voluntarily step aside." My heart stuttered. Catherine, my Katie, the girl I'd raised alone after Elaine's death, the one who'd cried on my shoulder during med school exams begging for advice on ethics and business. What the hell was this? I eased back into the elevator alcove, shadows cloaking me like an old ally, close enough to hear, hidden from view. Wesley's response came muffled as the door swung partially closed, but fragments pierced through. "Accelerate the timeline. Legal options. Everything transfers smoothly when what?" My mind raced, filling in blanks with shadows that grew darker by the second. "When I die," the thought hit like ice water. I counted 30 seconds, forcing my breathing steady, a technique from my early days negotiating with cutthroat suppliers. Then deliberate footsteps echoing off polished marble, I announced my presence. The door creaked open under my push. Wesley and Catherine jerked toward me, faces paling in unison. Wesley's hand darted like a thief, sliding a stack of legal documents into a manila folder. The room smelled of fresh coffee and tension thick enough to choke on. "Working late," I said, keeping my voice casual, conversational, the tone I used to disarm rivals. "Thought you'd both left for the day." Wesley recovered first, that practiced smile snapping into place. "Just reviewing Q4 projections, some concerning trends. Anything requiring my immediate attention?" "Nothing urgent," he assured too smoothly. "We'll discuss at Thursday's meeting." I nodded, my eyes flicking to Catherine. She wouldn't meet my gaze, twisting her wedding ring like a talisman. The folder sat between them like a smoking gun at a crime scene. Whatever I'd interrupted, it wasn't projections. We all knew I'd heard something, and we all pretended otherwise. The air hummed with unspoken mysteries. What exactly were those legal options? Why the hurry? 2 hours later, I sat across from them in the executive dining room on the 15th floor. January sun slanted through floor-to-ceiling windows, harsh and unforgiving, casting long shadows over white tablecloths and crystal glasses. Catherine picked at her salad greens, wilting under her fork while Wesley launched into his pitch. He probably thought it careful, but to me it reeked of rehearsal. The industry is changing fast, he said, leaning forward, eyes gleaming with that ambitious fire I'd once admired. Younger leadership brings fresh perspective. I cut my steak methodically, hands steady despite the storm inside. 30 years adapting to every shift, HIPAA regulations, pandemics, insurance overhauls. What made this different? I've adapted to every change in 3 decades, I replied evenly. What makes this different? No offense, but traditional methods don't work anymore. He paused, searching for diplomacy. Established, set in your ways. Old, I supplied, placing my fork down with a deliberate clink. You can say it. He didn't deny it. The company needs room to evolve. My will was ironclad, everything to Catherine upon my death, managed by Wesley until grandchildren came of age. Until then, I ran the show. Wesley invaded the space across the table, voice dropping. That's not good enough. We need control now. Need or want? His jaw clenched, mask cracking. You're making a mistake, he warned. Holding on too tight breaks things. Are you threatening me? The question hung unspoken, but Catherine jumped in. Dad, you're being unreasonable. We're family. Why can't you trust us? Trust. The word twisted in my chest like a knife. Trust is earned through actions, not demanded through blood. She'd never believed in me, she said, fingers twisting that ring. I gave her a position fresh out of business school opportunities she wielded like weapons now. She stood abruptly, chair scraping. Wesley rose with her towering in a calculated display. You'll regret pushing us away. Catherine hissed, guilt flickering before vanishing as Wesley called her name. I sat alone after they left, coffee, cooling city sprawling indifferent below. An ambulance wailed far down, fading into noise. 30 years for this, handed over like car keys. Back in my office, I locked the door, a rarity. The deadbolt clicked like a vow. Bottom drawer key on a chain around my neck. Financials, contracts. Spread expense reports. Med supply solutions. 3,000 house, 8,000 monthly. Wesley's signature. Vendor contracts. No match, small sums to slip, audits adding up. Not complaining, scheming. Accelerate the timeline. My daughter, my protege. Wrong about both. Hand on the Ellis logo folder, my creation. Winter light, faded shadows lengthening. Framed photos, ribbons, awards. Wesley's dismissive wave last month, contempt not carelessness. Photographed reports locked away. They thought me weak, sentimental. You want the company, I whispered to the empty room. Let's see if you can handle what comes next. New laptop folder, Q1 audit prep. Documented everything. I'd played this game longer than they'd lived. January blurred into suspicion's grip. I arrived earlier, townhouse, uncomfortable enemy territory. Catherine and Wesley's home now too. Kept distance, let them think retreat. Old man clinging. Meanwhile, notes piled, overheard words, side glances. Wesley's late nights, networking. One evening, rifling my desk at home, my private study journals, old photos of Catherine as a child laughing at Coney Island. Drawer askew. Paper shifted. Not burglary, snooping. What are you looking for? I confronted Wesley later, catching him in the act. He straightened, unapologetic. Just borrowing a pen. Thought you'd be out. My house. My rules. Family home. He smirked. We all live here. Deed says otherwise, but his eyes cold calculation. Mystery deepened. What did he seek? Will financials nights. I pored over old emails on my phone hidden in the guest room. Wesley's approvals on vague invoices. Patterns emerged like puzzle pieces in a thriller where the villain's shadow looms larger. Catherine avoided me excuses about work. Once I caught her whispering on the stairs, he's suspicious. Handle it. Handle what? My mind spun theories, poisoned coffee. Staged accident, power of will surged. I'd built this, I'd protect it. Mid-January board meeting. I entered to find Wesley presenting succession ideas. Directors nodded politely, but eyes darted to me. Premature. I said, taking my seat. I'm not going anywhere. Wesley's smile thinned. After he cornered me, stubbornness will cost you. Cost us all, I replied, enigma in my tone. What cost the hidden documents? That night, a cryptic email from an anonymous account. Watch your back. Not everyone is who they seem. Detached blurry photo of Wesley meeting a lawyer downtown. Heart raced ALI or trap. I traced the IP, bounced through servers untraceable. Mystery caller, disgruntled employee, or Wesley's game to unsettle me. Power stirred within. I'd face bankruptcies, lawsuits, Elaine's illness. This personal, I'd unravel it thread by thread. End of month dinner confrontation. Candlelit table pretense of normalcy. Wesley toasted family unity. Catherine clinked glasses mechanically. Post-meal, he slid a proposal early retirement package, generous buyout. Sign and relax, he urged. I scanned control to him immediately. Over my dead body, his eyes flickered prophetic words I didn't yet know. Catherine teared up. Dad, please. For us, not family them versus me. Betrayal's sting deepened, emotional abyss yawning. Alone later, I stared at Elaine's photo. What did I miss? Whispered to ghosts. Strength surged, not victim avenger. Secrets buried, but I'd dig. Empire mine, life mine. They'd learn. January closed with snow blanketing the city, muffling sounds like hidden truths. I slept little, mind plotting. The game began, and I held the ace patience, forged in fire. But deeper mysteries lurked, what tied med supply to Wesley's acceleration, offshore whispers, and that anonymous tip, friend or foe, I was Lemuel Ellis' survivor. They'd pushed. Now I'd pull the threads until their world unraveled. February arrived like a thief in the night, stealing the fragile warmth of January's illusions and replacing it with a bone-chilling frost that seeped into my soul. The dirty snow piled against Manhattan's curbs mirrored the grime building in my mind, layers of doubt, suspicion, and a growing resolve that felt like an ancient power awakening within me. I was Lemuel Ellis, architect of my own fortune, and now guardian of its secrets. The anonymous email from late January haunted me, that blurry photo of Wesley shaking hands with a shadowy lawyer outside a nondescript cafe on Broome Street. The caption, "He's planning more than you think, trust no one." I'd tried replying, bounced back undeliverable. A ghost in the machine, or perhaps a guardian angel wearing a digital mask. It added another layer to the enigma, a puzzle piece that didn't fit yet, but one I'd force into place. I'd moved subtly since that overheard conversation, transforming my routines into weapons. No more late nights at the townhouse. I arrived at the office by 7 a.m., sometimes 6:45, brewing coffee in the executive kitchen, while the city still slumbered under streetlights. The Upper East Side brownstone, 4 stories of brick in history bought with my first big profit in the 90s, felt like a trap now. Catherine and Wesley occupied the upper floors, their laughter echoing down the halls like mocking echoes. I'd offered them space 2 years ago, post-wedding, thinking it would bind us closer. Now it was enemy territory, every creak of the floorboards, a potential ambush. On that first gray Tuesday of February, I pushed through the revolving doors of headquarters at 6:45 sharp. The lobby's marble floors gleamed under security lights, the night guard nodding respectfully. "Morning, Mr. Ellis. Early bird today, it always," I replied with a tight smile, riding the elevator alone. The 12th floor was silent desks shrouded in darkness. But as I approached the main conference room, glass walls frosted for privacy, lights blazed inside. Voices murmured. My pulse quickened. Who else would be here at this hour? Peering through a gap in the blinds, I saw Wesley at the head of the table, my position, the one I'd claimed since day one. He addressed 3 clinic directors, Marcus Washington, my oldest ally from the Brooklyn startup days, Dr. Elena Ruiz from Midtown, and young Tim Hargrove, fresh-faced and ambitious. Notably absent Sandra Chen, my trusted ops manager for a decade, a woman whose loyalty I'd earned through crises like the '08 recession and the pandemic shortages. I didn't hesitate. Bursting in the door swung wide with a whoosh. Conversation died mid-sentence. Wesley's expression flickered surprise, melting into annoyance, then that oily professional mask. Morning meeting, I said, tone neutral, almost pleasant, but laced with steel. I claimed a chair at the opposite end, forcing him to pivot. Initiative I'm leading, Wesley said smoothly, not budging from the headspot. Didn't want to bother you with details. The directors shifted uncomfortably. Marcus stared at his notepad, avoiding eye contact, guilt, or fear. Any meeting involving my clinic directors requires my approval. I stated each word landing like a gavel. I'll expect full notes on my desk within the hour. We're just discussing operational improvements. Wesley pressed his smile, not reaching his eyes. Nothing that affects strategy. I turned to the group. Notes, hour. They nodded, scraping chairs as they filed out, leaving Wesley glaring. As I left, I caught his whisper to the empty room. Old man's losing his edge. Or was it losing his life, paranoia? Or intuition, sharpened by betrayal? That evening, back at the townhouse later than usual, deliberately to avoid them, I found Catherine's coat draped in the hallway, but no sign of her. Calling out yielded silence. A note on the kitchen counter in her elegant script, working late, don't wait up. But I'd seen her silhouette flit across the upstairs window from the street, a shadow dance that sent chills down my spine. Climbing to my private study, a sanctuary of oak shelves lined with medical journals, framed photos of Elaine and young Catherine at graduations, I found the door ajar. Wesley sat at my desk, papers splayed like conquered territory. That's my desk, I said, voice low, thunder rumbling. He didn't flinch, taking his time to look up. No apology in those calculating eyes. Needed space to work. Thought you'd be at the office longer. This is my home, my private office. Technically the family home. He gestured vaguely at the walls adorned with awards. We all live here. My jaw tightened. My name on the deed says otherwise. He gathered his papers slowly, a power play in every lingering second. As he passed in the doorway, he paused, breath warm on my ear. You should really think about what we discussed. This doesn't have to be difficult. Discussed? The retirement pitch or something darker. His cologne lingered like a threat. After he left, I inspected the desk items, rearranged pen holder, shifted left, a drawer cracked open. Territorial marking like a wolf pissing on trees. But what had he been searching for? My will hidden in the safe behind Elaine's portrait, or clues to my growing suspicions? From then on, I fortified. Arrived before Wesley, daily locking files in my personal safe combination changed to Elaine's birthday, 05/12/63. Passwords on company systems reset, two-factor authentication added. Small moves, but they built a fortress. Access logs showed Wesley's failed logins at odd hours, 2 a.m., 3:17 a.m., hacking or just curiosity turning obsessive. Mid-February buried in monthly financials till 9 p.m. The office hummed with heating vents and distant traffic sirens. Pulling up the expense tracker, sorting by approver, Med Supplies Solutions again. 7 out of 800 this time. Cross-referenced, procurement at no contract, no bids. Wesley's digital SIG on every one. Photographed screens, dates glaring. Vendor registration added 8 months ago by Wesley Chambers, COO. Lean back ceiling, staring back accusingly. Over 8 months, nearly $50,000 to a ghost company. Theft to fund what? That acceleration. The anonymous email pinged again that night, forwarded to my personal account. Check the Cayman links, follow the money trail. Attached a partial bank routing number. Heart pounding, I cross-searched matched offshore patterns. Who was this helper? A hacker with a grudge, or an inside whistleblower like Sandra, who'd been oddly distant? 2 days later, Gerald Thompson called our biggest insurer, 15 years strong. Lemuel following up on last week's chat. Wesley mentioned you'd be stepping back soon. Transition plan frowned. We didn't speak last week. Pause. He seemed certain. Hand tightened on phone. No transitions. Wesley spoke without authority. Awkward silence. I'll address internally. Found Wesley in his office an hour later, mid-laugh on his cell. Seeing me, neutrality snapped on. I'll call back. You told Thompson I'm retiring. Shrug unrepentant. Transitions happen. He asked succession. I answered honestly. Honestly abundant, you implied. You can't run forever. Stakeholders need assurance. The plan inherit when I die, not before. His edge sharpened. Consider making it sooner, for everyone's sake. Left before regretting words. Office-soured conversations halted at my entry, whispers behind cubicles. Wesley's narrative poisoning the well. Late February and another confrontation. Worked till 9 most nights, avoiding home. That Thursday returned to Wesley waiting in the living room armchair, not reading, just sitting like a sentinel by the window. "We need to talk about your role." Hung coat slowly. "Not again. You're a burden." Oh, stood blocking stairs. "Operations suffer. You won't delegate. Delegate or surrender. Call it rest, travel." Met his eyes. "Sounds as if they're going to push." "Things change one way or another." Voice threatening. Catherine appeared, drawn by voices aligning beside him, hand on his arm. Silence screamed alliance. "Sleeping at office tonight." I said, grabbing keys, left them in my house. Office couch, lumpy, but city lights, filtered blinds. Lay thinking, not disagreements, planning. Financials part of it. Daughter silent as husband threatened. Phone buzzed Wesley. "Urgent meeting tomorrow, investors. 9 a.m. I need you." Which, brief tomorrow. Car and shop, subway faster, green line to 42nd. Hadn't mentioned car trouble. Instinct flared, too specific. "I'll be there." Why subway setup mystery, deep in power, coiling inside, 3 steps ahead. Slept fitfully. Dreams of shadows pushing me into voids. Morning brought more, another anonymous text. "They're watching your routes. Be careful." Alley confirming fears. February's cold mirrored my heart-frozen trust thawing into rage. Wesley's moves bolder, but mine precise. Change locks on safe, installed hidden camera. In study footage showed Catherine snooping, later rifling drawers. Why her now confronted indirectly at breakfast? "Anything missing from my desk?" she startled. "What?" "No." Wesley's glance shared secret strength, surged personal power, not in muscles but mind. Decades negotiating, surviving losses. This I'd win. End of month board leak. Wesley circulated memo on leadership refresh. Directors confused. I quashed it, but seed planted. Knights researched, med supply, Delaware shell, UPS address. Beneficial owner masked, but ties to Harrington, Wesley's mother's maiden. Bingo. 50K funneled to greed. Anonymous source emailed, proof scan formation docs. Use wisely. More coming. Who gratitude mixed wariness. Trap, but evidence gold. Tension peaked, Wesley's late night calls overheard through walls. Accelerate. Accident cover, heart stopped. Murder power within, not victim. Hunter. They'd regret awakening me. As February waned, snow melting into slush, I plotted. Subway suggestion loomed, foreshadowing doom. But I'd turned tables. Secrets unfolded, my resolve iron. The game escalated, and I held the hidden ace: knowledge, patience, unbreakable will. March arrived like a predator, slinking into the city, with a deceptive mildness that masked the storm brewing in my life. The anonymous tips had escalated, daily texts, now cryptic warnings. They're finalizing the plan, fake crisis incoming. Trust your gut. Whoever this guardian shadow was, they'd saved me hours of blind stumbling. I'd been crashing in a converted office nook for a week, a folding cot amid stacks of financial printouts that served as both bed and battlefield. The townhouse was a no man's land. Every return felt like walking into a lion's den. My new reality, a sparse apartment, scouted but not yet leased, a temporary fortress, where I plotted under the glow of a desk lamp, piecing together Wesley's web like a detective in a noir thriller. That Wednesday morning, 8:45 a.m., surrounded by forensic ledgers on my folding table, my phone buzzed. Wesley's name flashed like a venomous snake. I let it ring twice, stilling myself before answering. "We have a serious problem," he said, voice laced with that manufactured urgency I'd come to recognize as his tell. "United Healthcare is pulling out. Risk teams here demanding you personally." I set down my coffee, the bitter steam curling like unanswered questions. "We renewed in January. Issues popped up, compliance ops questions. They want the owner, no one else." Every instinct screamed trap, but 30% revenue on the line. Plausible deniability. "I'll drive, 20 minutes. Traffic's hell. FDR blocked overturned semi at 96th. He was right. I checked the app, red line snarling the highway. How did he know my exact glance? "Alternatives take 40. We don't have time. Subway Lexington line straight to office." Logic sound, but his eagerness prickled. The anonymous text pinged seconds later. It's a lure. Go armed with eyes open. Armed with what a recorder in my pocket activated discreetly. Where to meet, I asked. Lexington Ave 63rd Station. 10 minutes. Grab jacket locked twice habit turned paranoia. The walk to the subway took 5 minutes, March air nipping with false spring. Wesley waited at the stairs, hands pocketed, shifting like a coiled spring. Beautiful morning, he said almost cheerful. Feels like spring. Ignored small talk. We descended swiped metros, headed downtown platform. Mid-morning sparse 8 passengers scattered. Wesley chattered about investors, but I watched him blinking, excess hand darting to pocket. Rehearsed smile cracking. We drifted middle platform, his elbow nudges, guiding away from others. Digital sign next train, 2 minutes. Sandra confirming legitimacy, I probed. Of course. With them now. Names Henderson, Martinez. Details with her. Distant rumble echoed. Headlights glowed. Wesley quieted phone check. Expression shifted cold focus equation solving. Platform vibrated wind stirring debris. Passengers stepped back. Wesley closer behind right. We're in building. Turned to him. Conference B, the large one. No conference B, caught, sorry the large one. Train's roar swelled headlight blinding. Turned fully what I saw, stopped, breath. No warmth, just lethal intent. What's really happening? No answer, hands emerged, palms out. Train 15 feet closing, weight shift, arms extend. Palms struck back shoulder blades. Hard violent. Pitch forward, arms windmilling. Edge vanish 4 feet, air track, bed rushing. Knees hit first pane distant. Hands slam gravel. Horn blared engineer's horror face. No climb. Third rail left death touch. Instinct flat between rails, face gravel arm, pinned legs straight. Sucked breath held. Train front over inches from back. Darkness, absolute roar, erasing thought. Thud thud, cars passing. 8 dust pelleted oil, dripped vibration, shook organs. Metal screamed, brakes, burning pads, choking. Thought this is death for greed. But not yet. Slowed, stopped. Silence, profound, ears ringing. Shifted limbs worked. Crawled belly forward to light between cars, emergency ladder. Pulled up, arms, legs, jelly. Transit worker, stay, waved off, climbed alone. Stood platform grime, head to toe, suit torn, blood knees. Wesley frozen 20 feet. Calculation, not relief. Catherine burst through, crowd-timed, perfect coat flying. Dad, oh no, Wesley. What? Shock performative, eyes, frustration. Planned fabrication, traffic position, witness. Passengers overlapped, okay, pushed him. Fell. Walked to them, steps deliberate, gin legs shook. Parted crowd, stopped close pupils, dilate, mask slip. Wanted dead. Daughter, son-in-law, disappointed survival. Officer, what happened? Fall, eyes on Wesley, pushed. By who? Wesley stumbled, tried grab. Deliberately. Insane trauma. Catherine, daddy shock. How convenient. Officers multiplied, statements contradictory. Someone push. Cameras, issues arranged. Stood still studying, loved ones turned enemies. Transformation complete, not father strategist. Walked slow circle watching. Stopped, 2 feet silence stretched. I'll see you in court. Turned, walked, exit. Wesley called misunderstanding. Didn't turn. Stares to daylight, hands shaking rage. Emerged sunlight, phone out, Gerald Morrison. My son-in-law tried kill me. War. Office cleared. Ruined suit swap, gym locker spares. Nurse clean scrapes. Lucky, no, more Morrison's Midtown report statements. Criminal weak cameras, failed witnesses vary. Fraud then, trails don't lie. Play forgiving, gather, stomach turned but sound. Can do, return townhouse evening neutral mask. They startled living room. Thought, think, I said. Life short, maybe stumbled, stress. Catherine hugged tears, endured, Wesley suspicious. Just like that, move forward. But war declared, mystery savior texted, survived, evidence phase next. Whose strength searched personal power survival forged unbreakable. They'd failed, now nightmare began. The push fractured time, replaying in flashes. Pressure blades, gravity's claim. Track rush knees, white hot. Train 30 mop her third rail glint. Rolled back briefly, undercarriage guts, wheels grinding. Flip stomach profile minimal. Darkness swallowed, roar primal. Don't move. Heat oil, taste, dust metal. Lungs burn, sips air. Hands clutch gravel anchor. Brakes screamed, rhythm fade. Silence louder. Tested limbs alive. Crawled infinite distance, ladder rung. Worker help waved, hauled self. Platform chaos. Pushed. Stood brushing grime, suit destroyed. Wesley mask false. Catherine grab pulled away. Frustration eyes. Realization planned fully. Urgent lie traffic, platform arrival. Officer pushed who, Wesley innocence. Steady him. Join chorus. Timing perfect. Micro expressions, jaw clench, ring twist. Silence weapon. Court. Walked away, officers detain them. Stairs street, rage contained. Call pressed, war. Clinic, 40-man bandages, concussion check. Afternoon, Morrison, criminal week, go fraud. Evidence access mine. Forgiving play. Yes, evening home, think about rails, disappointment face. Yes. They look startled. Think what happened. Stumble. Attorney advises, no charges, tears family. Wesley, what exactly? Forward, not lose daughter accident. Catherine cried hug. Wesley eyes calculate. Didn't forgive. Forward. Next week's home office nights, 2 a.m. silence. Pulled 5 years records. Med supply recurring. No contract. Registration Delaware 2021 UPS. Wires Cayman Harrington name Wesley's mother maiden. Floorboard creak minimized. Wesley doorway late one numbers. Dying changes perspective. Scanned a desk. Looking who shook head, left. Night documented 42 months, 340K. Contacted Brennan Forensics. Met downtown USB slide. Acquisition due diligence. Vendor focus. Understanding nod. Breakfast announcement. Hired Brennan. Routine audit. Wesley mug pause. Why phone? Sloppy compliance. Need access approvals. Cooperate. Weeks later, car near office. Brennan call found something. Mirror smile satisfaction. Phase complete. But survival echo power within mysterious ally guiding. Betrayal's peak victories dawn. The shove's echo lingered, a hidden strength born from abyss. I'd touched death emerged hunter. Wesley's nightmare just starting. The days following the subway incident blurred into a haze of calculated deception and nocturnal hunts for truth, a period where I wore the mask of a forgiving father while sharpening the blades of justice in the shadows. March's faux spring teased with warmer breezes, but inside me a winter storm raged, fueled by the anonymous texts that arrived like whispers from a spectral ally. Play the long game. More docs incoming. Whoever this guardian was, perhaps a hacked IT intern Wesley had fired last year, or a rival exec with a grudge they'd become my invisible ace, feeding me crumbs that led to feasts of evidence. Surviving that push had ignited something primal in me, a personal power that felt almost supernatural, like the resilience I'd drawn from burying a lane and bootstrapping my empire from nothing. I was no longer just Lemuel Ellis the mogul. I was a force unraveling threads with the patience of a spider sensing vibrations in its web. That evening, after Morrison's office, I returned to the townhouse under a twilight sky, streaked with purple bruises mirroring the ones blooming on my knees beneath bandages. My hands still trembled faintly from the adrenaline echo, but I schooled my expression into one of weary reconciliation. The front door's key turned with a click that echoed like a starting gun. Wesley and Catherine sat in the living room, frozen mid-conversation, their faces a canvas of surprise and wariness. The air smelled of takeout Italian garlic and regret. "You're back," Wesley said carefully, standing halfway, like testing thin ice. I set my briefcase down with deliberate calm, reclaiming the armchair that had been my throne for decades. The room's antique clock ticked louder than usual, counting down to their unraveling. "I've had time to think," I began, voice steady, infused with the acting skills I'd honed in shareholder meetings. "About what happened. About us." Catherine leaned forward, her eyes red-rimmed, real tears or a crocodile. Dad, we were so worried. The hospital called, but you didn't. Life's too short for family conflict, I interrupted, gently forcing warmth into my tone. It tasted like ash, but necessary. Maybe I did stumble. The stress lately not sleeping well after overhearing things. I let the implication hang watching Wesley's Adam's apple bob. He exchanged a glance with Catherine, suspicion flickering, before he masked it with relief. So you're saying, my attorney advised against pressing charges. Uncertain outcome tears the family apart regardless. The lie rolled out smoothly. Morrison's strategy etched in my mind, keep them comfortable off guard while I mined the veins of their deceit. Catherine crossed the room in a rush, hugging me tightly. Her perfume, the same floral scent Elaine had worn, twisted the knife deeper. I endured it for 5 seconds, patting her back awkwardly, then stepped away, maintaining that crucial distance, physical and emotional. Wesley watched, eyes calculating probabilities. Just like that, you forgive everything. I met his gaze, unflinching. I didn't say forgive. I said we move forward. I don't want to lose my daughter over an accident. The word accident dripped irony only I could taste. They nodded, tension easing like an exhaled breath. Catherine started crying again, real this time perhaps, or guilt's performance. Wesley poured scotch my bottle from my cabinet and handed me a glass. To fresh starts, he toasted. I clinked, sipped minimally. Fresh starts for them. Endings for me. Over the next 2 weeks, I dove into the charade with method, acting, precision, working from my home office, late into the nights when the house fell silent, except for the hum of the refrigerator and distant sirens. The study became my war room laptop, glowing external drive hidden in a hollowed-out medical tome on the shelf. At 2 a.m., with April's rain pattering against the windows like impatient fingers, I pulled up 5 years of financial records from the company's cloud access, still mine as owner, though Wesley had tried revoking subsystems subtly, scrolling expenses, med supply solutions recurring like a heartbeat of theft. 3,000 in here, 8,000 there amounts designed to evade flags. Opened vendor contracts, folder no agreement, no bids, no traces. Looked up registration, form Delaware 2021 address, a UPS store in Newark. Amateur hour, banking portal, Dex wire transfers traced to Cayman Islands. Account holder, Harrington Trust, Wesley's mother's maiden name, sloppy ego-driven mistake. The total over 42 months, $340,000. Not pocket change, a war chest for their acceleration. A floorboard creaked outside the door. Heart leaping, I minimized windows to harmless spreadsheets. Wesley appeared in the doorway, hair tousled, robe loose. Working late, couldn't sleep, gestured at the screen. Going over numbers. Why now? You never cared about details before. Nearly dying changes perspective, I said, forcing a rueful smile. Makes you want things organized. He stepped in, eyes scanning the desk like a hawk. Papers, innocent printouts of Q1 projections. You're looking for something. Should I be? I countered mildly, but inside alarms blared. How close had he come to discovering my drive? He paused, shook his head with a chuckle that didn't reach his eyes. Of course not. Just seems odd the timing. He left, muttering under his breath. Everything in this company concerns me eventually. Waited until footsteps faded, then reopened files. Documented everything, screenshots, timestamps, exported to the drive labeled estate planning docs, innocuous camouflage. By dawn, I had it all: patterns, signatures, offshore routing numbers, matching the anonymous tips partials. The Guardian texted at 3 a.m. Good hunt. Check email for bonus vendor emails. Attach forward Wesley's account corresponding with Med Supply rep himself, dummy address. Self-dealing provable. Gratitude surged. Whoever you are, thank you. But wariness too. Why help leverage later? Next day, contacted Brennan and Associates forensic accountants. Extraordinaire recommended by Morrison for discretion. Met Jennifer Brennan in a nondescript downtown conference room, rain-streaking windows. Slid the USB across the table like contraband. Complete records 5 years, I said. Comprehensive review of expenses over $1,000. Preparing for potential acquisition due diligence. She nodded, professional as a scalpel. Something like that. Pay particular attention to vendor payments. Understanding, past unspoken, no names, but she knew fraud when it bit. Back home, the act continued. Breakfast with forced banter. Wesley discussing market trends, Catherine planning a family dinner to celebrate my recovery. I played along bandaged knees, a prop for sympathy. Doc says take it easy, I'd say while plotting their demise financially. One evening mid-March, Catherine cornered me in the kitchen. Dad, are you really okay? You seem distant. The depth of emotion hit then my little girl, now accomplice. Tears welled, but I blinked them back. Betrayal hurts Katie, but family's family. Lie within truth, her hug lingered, guilt radiating. Wesley watched from the doorway satisfied. They thought me broken pliable. Nights deep in the dig. April Fool's Day, ironic, another discovery, emails from Wesley's account to the lawyer in the blurry photo. Subject, power of attorney drafts. Contemplating incapacity claims. The anonymous source forwarded more audio snippet. Wesley on call. If the old man digs too deep, we pivot to guardianship. Chills, murder failed. Now legal theft. Brennan's preliminary report came April 5th. Patterns indicate embezzlement. Need deeper bank subpoenas. Morrison greenlit. Announcement at breakfast, April 10th. Hired Brennan and Associates, forensic accountants for routine audit. Wesley's coffee mug paused mid-air, splash on tablecloth. Why, what for? Should have done annually. After the incident, realized I've been sloppy with compliance. Nothing personal. Catherine frowned, fork stabbing eggs. Is this because of you don't trust us everything? 5 years, transactions, vendors' approvals. Met Wesley's eyes. Need full access to your records. His hand shook slightly, tell. Of course, happy to cooperate. Liar. That night, camera footage I'd installed discreetly, Wesley pacing his room on phone. Audit handle it. To who? The lawyer, guardian text there, panicking. Shell Corp dissolving, soon grab traces. Power coursed. I was the storm now. Mid-April, more acting family therapy session, suggested by Catherine. Sat in a beige office therapist probing communication breakdowns. I overheard things, I admitted vulnerably. Felt betrayed, but accident clarified priorities. Wesley squeezed Catherine's hand. We're glad you're seeing reason. Reason revenge. Brennan meetings escalated, downtown sliding envelopes. Total $340K confirmed. Offshore loops back to Harrington Family Trust, Wesley's beneficial owner. Proof gold. But needed more tax implications emails. Anonymous delivered hacked emails showing Wesley invoicing himself, fake equipment list. Used for IRS tip later. Emotion crested, one night alone, stared Elaine's photo. They tried to kill me for this. Tears fell, depth of lost daughter's choice. But power rose for her memory, I'd destroy them cleanly. Late April, sliding into May, pressure built. Wesley grew bolder. Audit dragging any findings. Clean so far, I lied. Catherine's guilt slips. Dad, if we hurt you. Hurts past, but future loomed. 3 weeks post-announcement. Brennan called meet today, found deeper, $680K over extensions, layered shells. Car near office rear view reflection, smiled satisfaction. Phase 1 complete. The act held, but inside warrior awakened. Mysterious ally evidence, Osno Wesley's nightmare incubated. Forgiveness, facade gathering storm. Betrayal's price ticketed. April's rains washed streets, but not sins. I danced deception strength, unyielding. One more discovery. Wesley's search history on my shared drive. Subway accident payouts. Inheritance taxes early. Murder cover all documented. Morrison enough for civil counter. Play on. Nodded. Thespian father avenger beneath. As April waned, warmth bloomed false like my smiles. Evidence vaulted, act perfected. They slept sound. I hunted wakeful. Guardian's final text that month, restructuring next, strike hard. Yes, war's next act. May unfurled like a venomous flower, its blooming warmth, a cruel juxtaposition to the icy calculations solidifying in my veins. The forensic audit's preliminary revelations had armed me with an arsenal sharper than any blade, 680,000 in layered embezzlement traced through shell companies like Med Supply Solutions, dissolving into Harrington Trusts and beyond. My anonymous ally, that digital phantom that had gone dark after their last missive, strike now before they suspect the depth. Perhaps they'd served their purpose, vanishing like a ghost fulfilled, or maybe they watched from afar, content in the chaos they'd helped ignite. Whoever they were, their gifts had transformed my survival into supremacy. The personal power surging within me now felt boundless, a fusion of grief-forged resilience and the cunning I'd honed surviving boardroom coups in Elaine's slow fade. Wesley and Catherine thought my forgiveness genuine, their hugs and shared meals lulling them into complacency. But beneath the facade, I orchestrated their downfall note by symphonic note. The conference room on the 12th floor site of that fateful January eavesdrop became the stage for my first overt strike. 4 months since the whispers of acceleration, and now I'd accelerate their ruin. It was a Tuesday morning in early May sunlight streaming through windows like spotlights on a theater of justice. I'd briefed Sandra Chen the night before. Her loyalty earned over a decade of crises was ironclad. Robert Park, my outside counsel from Morrison's firm, and Margaret Foster, the advisory board chair, flanked the table witnesses to the execution. Wesley and Catherine arrived fashionably late, believing this a routine quarterly review. Wesley carried his leather folder like a shield, Catherine her tablet, both wearing masks of familial normalcy. "Morning, Dad," she said, pecking my cheek, a gesture that twisted my gut, but I smiled benignly. "Take your seats," I said formally, no warmth for preamble. Distributed bound documents cover emblazoned, confidential restructuring proposal. Wesley's boredom shifted to rapt attention. Catherine flipped pages, confusion etching her features. "I've made decisions about the company's future," I announced, voice cold as a scalpel. "Let me finish before questions." Wesley opened his mouth. I raised a hand, silencing him. Jaw clenched, he complied. Effective immediately, I formed Ellis Medical Solutions, LLC, transferring 4 clinics, Upper East Side, Midtown, Financial Brooklyn Heights, 65% revenue. Page 3 detailed insurances, moving United, Aetna, Blue Cross. Sandra nodded. "I'll serve as COO of the new entity. Original Ellis Healthcare Group retains 4 locations, existing vendors. Wesley and Catherine positions remain there." He exploded, upward chair tipping with a clatter. "You can't sabotage illegal stripping. Completely legal." Robert Park slid a legal opinion. "Mr. Ellis owns 100% equity, absolute right. I'll sue injunction board vote." Margaret interrupted calmly. "Board advisory only, no power." Wesley's face flushed crimson, finger-jabbing documents. "Promise to us your will. Will governs after death. I'm alive." Hands flat on table, unmoved. Catherine reached, tears welling. "Daddy, don't. Family. Family tried to kill me. And remember, accident you forgave. Moved forward separately." Wesley pounded fist glasses, jumping. "Nothing left, barely breaks even. Manage efficiently, good practice. House survive," Catherine sobbed. "Like I survived rails, figure it out." They stormed out, door slamming, frame rattling. Sandra exhaled, courageous. "Math. Thieves don't lie, numbers." Gathered materials. Finalized transfers afternoon. Operational 2 weeks. That evening, townhouse for the last time as resident. Moved methodically, clothes from closet, leaving Catherine's. Safe documents. Photos of young her skipping weddings. Wesley found me bedroom suitcase open. Kicking us own daughter, folded shirt. My house decision, 30 days notice. Handed envelope, eviction. Ripped open, where go, not concern, apartment. Salary from Shell. What salary? No revenue payroll. Catherine doorway, can't believe. Can't believe you smiled, platform eyes. No response. Watched packing, loaded car. Keys on counter, walk past block. Murray Hill apartment, sparse, 3 flights, 1 bed chair, bought morning. Boxes, neat walls. Blinds open, honest view. No garden pretense. Sat takeout, phone buzzed. Wesley calls. Ignored. Echoed, empty, cleaner than betrayal tainted rooms. Days, new company, smooth. Sandra opsai strategy. Old struggled, Wesley vendor begs no leverage. Catherine budgets unbalanced. Assistant knock process server. Envelope thick, lawsuit, restructuring, challenge, injunction, fiduciary breach, elder abuse. Office doorway opened, 15 pages. Allegations, mental incompetent. Malicious oral promises. Reed standing. Sandra fighting back. Counterattack. Morrison phone. Window Manhattan, not business accountability. Murder fail, lose death, wanted, expected lawsuit, discovery door open. Filed first aggression mistake. Morrison speaker, nuclear, oral promises, competency. Proved promises, none. Evaluation request, erratic post-trauma. Take tests, pass. Cost mount 40K monthly, defend. Bill me, no settle. Week later, court appearance. Tables 20 feet, me versus them. No acknowledgement. Judge entered. Wesley attorney destroying value maliciously. Morrison ownership absolute, no shareholders harm. Judge 20-min review, injunction denied. No success likelihood. Victory small 12K cost. Granted evaluation 3 appointments. Dr. Hoffman pattern sequences. Simple excellent function. Dr. Ramirez psych incident effect. Clarified priorities, trust actions. Decisions retaliatory. Murder motive protect assets, criminals. No impairment. Neuroscans normal. Report superior cognition, no capacity dim. Meanwhile, Wesley destroyed old fired 40% staff, hallways empty. Quality plummeted, newsletters crises. Recruiting my employees, Sandra told go. Reputation poison, no hires under investigation. June marathon appearances, motions productions. Demanding communications provided required. Bills 87K end month. Office costs, review discovery piles. Sandra exhausted, worth health. Tried kill, yes. What if went by, drawer folder audit, won't, something hidden. 2 weeks attacks, then end. July week 1 Morrison strategy audit final courier. Package thick, 347 pages fraud, systematic. 680K total Wesley owner. File court SEC, IRS simultaneous. Do it. Hours changed everything. Exhibit civil public. Agencies opened. Media probe NYC clinic embezzlement, 680K. Article details audit shell subway link. Sandra fast. Good. See what he is. Morrison agents at old office seizing. Described scene Wesley desk door open credentials subpoena. Question 4 hours denied errors. Attorney stop. Didn't mention offshore. How no mistake. Catherine apartment badges buckled. Signatures fraud. Didn't know. Deal testify. Attorney decision. Accounts frozen. ATM denied, zero balance. Offshore 2. Cards max litigation. Rent impossible. Media storm post. Air Bilk's father. Reputation dust. Google scandal. Volkman call settlement. Withdraw. Resign surrender inheritance. Rejected no. Prison continues. Wesley speaker mistakes mercy. Mercy rails none. Catherine cries sorry. Smiled platform done. Panicking should. Timeline grand jury 60 days. Wire fraud laundering evasion. 10 to 15 years. Catherine cooperate immunity. Her choice. Reporter call revenge crimes audit uncovered. Cooperate authorities. Late July text Morrison plea hearing. Wesley tomorrow statement. Wrote victim impact push March 12th survival betrayal permanent. Courthouse Pearl. Wesley gaunt suit. Plea guilty fraud laundering. My statement. Push tracks greed. Stole patience. Suited incompetent. Finished subway. Maximum. Judge calculated crimes betrayal. 18 months, 5 supervised restitution, 680K. Catherine week later, probation cooperate service record. Company thrived. Sandra 25% partner, new team expansions. Phone Catherine, need talk, lost all, help. Silence. Stood platform smiled. Scared manipulated. Adult choices, live them. Hung blocked, evening window. No triumph, certainty justice. Betrayal, past justice, present future mine. Stronger without order prevailed. War, legal one asset split. There fall my rise. Anonymous, no more text mission done. Power personal survived, conquered. Relax, no vigilant peace. The gavel's echo from Wesley's plea hearing still reverberated in my mind as July's sweltering heat pressed against the city like an unyielding interrogator, mirroring the pressure now crushing my former family. 18 months in federal prison for wire fraud and money laundering, plus 5 years supervised release in full restitution of $680,000 justice served cold but not without the bitter aftertaste of Catherine's impending fate. She'd cooperate for probation, the DA had whispered to Morrison, trading testimony for leniency. My anonymous ally had vanished entirely after the civil win, their final text, a cryptic, "Justice served," fade to black. Perhaps a disgruntled ex-employee who'd hacked Wesley's emails, or a rival vendor scorned. Their absence left a void, but the evidence they'd seeded had bloomed into a garden of thorns for Wesley and Catherine. The personal power I'd discovered in the abyss of that subway track felt eternal now, a quiet force that had carried me from victim to victor, unraveling mysteries with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. The media frenzy ignited like a wildfire in dry tinder. That afternoon, post-hearing, as I stepped out of the Pearl Street courthouse into a blitz of flashing cameras, reporters swarmed like sharks, scenting blood. "Mr. Ellis, was this revenge for the subway attempt?" one shouted, microphone thrust forward. I paused on the steps, the summer sun glinting off my sunglasses, composing my response with the measured calm of a man who'd stared death down. "No revenge," I said evenly, voice carrying over the clamor. "With just consequences. The audit uncovered crimes against the company I built. I cooperated fully with authorities." Morrison flanked me, steering me away, but the soundbites spread virally. Headlines on the Post's evening edition screamed, "Mogul's kin pleads guilty in $680K. Embezzlement, subway push linked." By nightfall, X, formerly Twitter, trends exploded. Hashtag Ellis betrayal, had family fraud, clips of Wesley's gaunt face being led away in cuffs, looping endlessly. Back in my Murray Hill apartment, Spartan, but mine with a view of the East River that reminded me of resilient currents, I watched the coverage on a muted TV while sipping black coffee. The new Ellis Medical Solutions, LLC, thrived under Sandra's ops wizardry. We'd expanded to telehealth integrations, revenue up 15% already. But the old shell company, Wesley's Playground, now a sinking ship. IRS and FBI raids had hit their offices the day after my counterfilings agents and windbreakers carting out boxes of hard drives and ledgers. Anonymous tips mine funneled through Morrison had pinpointed the offshore accounts, freezing them faster than a New York winter. Catherine's collapse came swift. Her probation hearing a week later reduced her to a shadow community service, a sealed record if she testified cleanly, but the damage was visceral. Photos splashed across tabloids, her emerging from a modest Queens walk-up, evicted from the townhouse, rent unpaid, designer bags replaced by grocery totes. Wesley, from a holding cell, had his assets, liquidated stocks, the Rolex I'd gifted him post-wedding, even Catherine's engagement ring pawned for legal fees. Their joint account drained to $47.23 per the bank's freeze notice. The financial scepter fell hardest in August's dog days. Wesley's supervised release loomed, but pre-sentencing, he was remanded, no bail for flight risk, given the Cayman ties. Catherine called me once, voice cracking over a payphone line, her cell confiscated. "Dad, please, we have nothing. The apartment's gone, a landlord changed locks. Wesley's mom won't help, she's disowned him." I sat at my desk, staring at the framed photo of Elaine, her smile a ghost urging mercy I couldn't grant. "You stood on that platform, Katie," smiled as he pushed. "Actions have prices." I was scared, manipulated. Sobs echoed, raw emotion piercing the line. Depth hit me then, the little girl I'd bandaged knees for now broken by her choices. But betrayal's scar ran deeper. "Live with it," I said softly, hanging up. Blocked the number after. Transmission of their ruin played out in real-time. FBI press releases detailed the raids. Seizure of documents confirming self-dealing through Med Supply Solutions. A Delaware shell funneling funds to Harrington Trust. Reporters camped outside their old addresses. Wesley's Wharton alumni network ghosted him, job offers evaporating like morning mist. Catherine's marketing portfolio tarnished. LinkedIn messages flooded with hate, freelance gigs dried up. One humid August evening, as thunder rumbled over the skyline, Morrison forwarded the IRS lien $200K in back taxes on unreported embezzled income, penalties compounding daily. Their credit scores plummeted to sub-500, loans denied, even utility deposits required up front. I imagined them in a dingy motel off the Jersey Turnpike, threadbare sheets, vending machine dinners, while my new venture inked a partnership with a Silicon Valley AI diagnostics firm. The emotional toll crested in quiet moments nights when the city's hum couldn't drown the what-ifs. Had I been too absent a father building empires while Catherine sought validation in Wesley's ambition? The mystery of her complicity lingered. Texts from The Guardian had shown her approving invoices. But was it love? Blinded or greed-driven? Power within steadied me. I'd survived the push, the lies emerging, not bitter, but resolved. Forgiveness, no bitter peace emerging. By mid-August, Wesley's surrender at his storage unit in the Bronx contents auctioned for restitution. 12K recouped a pittance. Catherine spotted bussing tables anonymously in a Brooklyn diner, tabloids claimed. The media circus peaked with a primetime special, Betrayed Empire, the Ellis family scandal. Interviewing ex-employees spilling on Wesley's tirades, my survival story humanized with subway footage reconstructions. I declined interviews, letting facts speak. Strength manifested in restraint, no gloating, just forward momentum. Sandra toasted at our expansion meeting to justice. Glasses clinked, the future bright. As August waned, their calls ceased, defeated silence. My world rebuilt, clinics, buzzing, legacies secure. The hidden allies role as solved enigma in my mind, gratitude eternal. Collapse, complete transmission faded. I walked the high line at dusk, wind carrying away the past. Victory, quiet power, personal and profound. The frenzy didn't stop at pleas, it amplified. DOJ announcements, indictment unsealed, additional counts of tax evasion. Wesley's cellmate snippets leaked, isolation, regret. Monologues, Catherine's community service, scrubbing graffiti in Parks Anonymous, no more paparazzi snaps, sold for thousands. Financial autopsy, offshore accounts clawed back via treaties, 400K, repatriated to my LLC for victim compensation. Their debts snowballed, legal fees, 150K, unpaid collectors hounding phantom addresses. One final twist, a letter forwarded by Morrison Wesley's scrawl from Rikers. Mercy Lemuel, mistakes, ignored, shredded. Emotional depth resolved in therapy, self-prescribed walks, show reflecting on Elaine's words, family's what you make, not born. Mine now, Sandra, loyal team self. August's end brought rainwashing, streets clean. Their ruin, absolute Wesley incarcerated, September. Catherine vanished to heartland, obscurity. I stood taller, mysteries unraveled, strength eternal. Betrayal's ashes fertilized triumph. The raid's details mesmerized agents breaching at dawn, Wesley in pajamas protesting. Computers imaged phones, cloned, more emails surfaced. Accelerate post-accident inheritance. Public shaming. LinkedIn banned social media trolls. Friends ghosted, wedding guests regretted RSVPs. My response, anonymous donation to subway safety charities honoring survival. Powers peak, not destruction, but creation. But I serene in victory's glow. As the dog days of August surrendered to the subtle crispness of early autumn whispers, the final threads of justice wove themselves into a tapestry of closure, leaving me, Lemuel Ellis, once a man teetering on the edge of oblivion, to survey the landscape of my rebirth. The Pearl Street Courthouse, that austere bastion of verdicts and verdicts deferred, hosted Catherine's sentencing on a muggy afternoon where the air conditioner hummed like a distant train, echoing the roar that had nearly claimed my life. I'd arrived early, slipping into the back row like a shadow observer, Morrison's hand briefly on my arm in silent support. No cameras this time. The media vultures had feasted on Wesley's downfall and moved on, leaving this epilogue to unfold in relative quiet. My guardian ally's parting text lingered in my phone's archives. Justice served. Fade to black. The enigmatic sign-off that I'd pondered like a riddle from a forgotten dream. Was it Sandra's subtle tech-savvy nephew, or a whistleblower from MedSupply's ghost ledger? The mystery added a layer of intrigue to my victory, a hidden ally whose motives dissolved into irrelevance amid the triumph. Catherine stood before the judge, a diminished figure in a navy suit that hung loosely on her frame, the weight of months' torment etched in hollow cheeks and downcast eyes. The prosecutor outlined her role succinctly: accessory to embezzlement, complicit in the fraud's web, but pivotal testimony against Wesley had earned mercy. Probation, 3 years, supervised 500 hours, at a battered women's shelter in the Bronx weekly therapy sessions, and a $50,000 fine payable in installments from whatever menial job she could secure. The judge, a no-nonsense veteran with a voice like gravel, peered over her glasses. Ms. Ellis Chambers' blood ties do not absolve betrayal. Your cooperation shows remorse, but actions echo eternally. Sentence imposed. Catherine's nod was barely perceptible, tears carving silent paths down her face. As the gavel fell a muted thud compared to Wesley's dramatic plea, she glanced back, our eyes locking for the first time in months. In that gaze, I saw fragments of the girl who'd begged for bedtime stories after Elaine's diagnosis, now fractured by choices and consequences. Pity stirred unbidden, but I quelled it with the steel resolve born from subway gravel and sleepless audits. No words exchanged. She was escorted out free in body, but imprisoned in regret. Morrison leaned in as we exited. End of the line, Lemuel. You've got your peace. Peace, it was more a serene plateau after the storm's fury, a vantage where I could reflect without the sting of fresh wounds. That evening, back in my Murray Hill sanctuary, a modest two-bedroom with bookshelves groaning under medical tomes and new business plans, I poured a scotch and settled on the balcony. The city sprawled below, a mosaic of lights twinkling like stars in a concrete sky. August heat lingered in the air, but a breeze carried hints of fall mirroring my internal shift. Reflection came unforced now, waves crashing on memory's shore. It started with January's chill, those overheard whispers in the conference room, Wesley's smooth ambition clashing with Catherine's inherited impatience. Accelerate the timeline, words that had ignited suspicion's spark fanned by February's petty power, grabs the subway suggestion that reeked of setup. The push itself replayed in slow motion, Wesley's hands on my shoulder blades, the platform's edge vanishing, the train's maw rushing up. Knees slamming gravel, the third rail's deadly hum. Inches away, the deafening roar as cars thundered overhead. Dust in my lungs, oil dripping like black rain, heart pounding, a primal rhythm of survival. I'd held my breath flattened like a shadow drawing on an inner reservoir I never knew existed. Decades of grit, orphaned at 16, med school on fumes, building Ellis Healthcare from a dingy clinic, treating the forgotten while giants ignored them. Elaine's cancer battle, teaching me loss's sharp edges, raising Catherine solo, her laughter a balm against grief. All converged in that abyss, birthing a personal power that felt almost mystical, a quiet omnipotence turning victimhood into vigilant strategy. The anonymous tips had been the thriller's twists, blurry photos, bank routings, hacked emails unveiling med supplies facade. They'd kept the suspense alive, my nocturnal hunts through financial shadows building tension like a taut wire. Forged forgiveness in March-April, acting the doting father, while Brennan's audit unearthed $680,000 in siphoned veins. The restructuring strike in May, splitting the empire, evicting them from my townhouse, had been the counterpunch lawsuits, their desperate flails. July's criminal avalanche raids, freezes pleas. Wesley's 18 months in federal lockup. Catherine's probation chains. Now reconstruction bloomed. Ellis Medical Solutions. LLC wasn't just surviving, it thrived. Sandra Chen, my steadfast ops maestro, now equity partner, had steered us to new heights. AI-driven diagnostics integrated across 10 clinics, partnerships with Mount Sinai for cutting-edge trials, revenue on track to double pre-scandal figures. We'd hired back defectors from the hollowed-out shell, Wesley's mismanagement exposed in leaks, staff cuts, vendor scams echoing his own. Morale soared. Team meetings buzzed with innovation, not intrigue. Personally, the rebuild was subtler. Therapy sessions twice weekly unpacked the emotional strata, rage at Wesley's cold calculation, sorrow for Catherine's fall from grace. You empowered yourself, my therapist noted, from passive empire builder to active avenger. True, the hidden strength, that intuitive dodge on the platform, the cunning evidence web had redefined me. No more blind trust, boundaries ironclad. Social tendrils extended cautiously, mentorship at a startup incubator, guiding young moguls on ethics and scaling. A dinner with Laura, a fellow widower from the clinic's grief group, conversation flowed like aged wine, laughter, a novel sensation. Health impeccable, annual physical showed scars, faded vitals strong as my resolve. One twilight stroll along the East River phone vibrated, Morrison forwarding closure docs. Wesley's assets fully liquidated the Porsche auction in for $45K toward restitution, Catherine's jewelry melting into anonymity. Their financial collapse, absolute credit ruins evictions. Wesley's post-release job prospects nil with a felony stain. Tabloids whispered Catherine an Albany anonymous cashier. Wesley, plotting appeals from a SIL letters, ignored. A final enigma surfaced. An unmarked envelope slid under my door containing a USB drive. Plugged in, warily scanned clean. It held Wesley's old emails, timestamps aligning with the Guardian's tips. A note from a friend who saw too much, burn after. Tim Hargrove, the ambitious director Wesley courted. Destroyed at mystery resolved in flames. Gratitude sufficed. Some allies thrive in shadows. Catherine's letter arrived via post-sentencing, mail pages of remorse, childhood anecdotes, pleas for reconciliation. I was drowning in his vision, Dad. Therapy's helping. One day, tucked in a drawer beside Elaine's photo, time might soften edges, but not erase the platform smile. As August 31st dawned, I hosted a small gathering at the office. Sandra Key staff, champagne toasting expansions. To legacies rebuilt on truth. I raised a glass. Cheers echoed, warmth genuine. Evening found me at Elaine's grave in Queen's, flowers in hand. It's done, I whispered to the stone. Stronger for it. Wind rustled leaves, approval imagined. Justice's arc complete, from betrayal's dagger to victory's crown. The suspenseful unraveling threats deeds into darkness. Courtroom climaxes yielded to cathartic calm. Personal power once hidden, now radiant, survivor, strategist, sovereign. In the quiet, I breathed free. The city pulsed onward. So did I. Empowerment's essence, not destruction, but creation from ashes. Family redefined, chosen bonds over blood. Mysteries faded, strength eternal. And in that relaxing denouement, peace settled like sunset's glow.